Hi again, everybody, and welcome to this week's Furman Football Preview. I am Dan Scott. It is great to have you with us. Home opener for 2024 is up on us. It is FU After Dark, the Trilogy. Saturday night, Paladins Stadium, 6 o'clock kick, Furman and Charleston Southern. Of course, the Paladins coming off of the 76-0 loss last week at Ole Miss. Back to FCS-level competition for the remaining 11 games of this 2024 football season and looking to get things moving in the right direction in the games that will matter when it comes to making the playoffs, playoff seeding, and all of that good stuff. Just cleaning up some stuff from Ole Miss. I've spent some time talking to the coaches this week. Obviously, we do our pregame interviews for the Pepsi Countdown to Kickoff on the radio, but in those interviews, separate from those interviews, talking with the coordinators, talking with head coach Clay Hendricks in particular, the feeling was that, and Clay mentioned this Monday in his press conference, he would have loved to have played a game before Ole Miss, but he's glad to have that one in the rearview mirror now and to get to focus on Charleston Southern and the rest of the FCS schedule moving forward. The score is what it is, and the separation between those schools and schools like Furman is not getting any smaller. It's getting wider by the day, seemingly, so you knew the buzzsaw to a certain degree you were walking into there. But the important things coming out of the game, healthy, getting a large number of snaps for second and third teamers, but even the first teamers, who many of them starting for the first time, some of them playing appreciable number of snaps for the first time in their careers, getting that out of the way, getting things on film and live game action now where you can, as a coach, assess and correct. And the one thing that stands out maybe above anything and everything else is, despite the score, despite all of everything that happened on Saturday in Oxford, Mississippi, Coach Hendricks, Justin Roper, Dwayne Vaughn all said that they played hard. There was no deer in the headlights. There's been no residual confidence issues. In fact, they have all talked about having a really, really good week of practice heading in to this home opener against Charleston Southern. So you take all of that as a good sign. And look, again, that game is what it is, to quote several people who like to use that phrase. But you try to take what positive you can out of it, and that's what the coaches have done this week in looking at film, making corrections, and Clay telling me that even second and third team guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball, getting as many as 20 snaps in the game is going to prove invaluable moving forward when it comes to depth. And depth is going to be an issue with this team. And Clay's made no secret about that. 60 scholarships is what Furman plays with, and they're down 6 scholarship players to season-ending injuries before the first snap of the season was ever held. So building depth now and getting second and third teamers those kind of snaps, even in a game that was as lopsided as it was, is going to pay dividends down the stretch. This week's opponent, Charleston Southern, of course, they dropped a 22-21 decision to the Citadel, had a lead in that game. Citadel came back, took the lead, and then Charleston Southern had a chance to win it at the gun with a field goal, missed it wide left, and Citadel had its 11-game losing streak. They went 0-11 last year. That went by the boards. Charleston Southern is now 0-1 on the season. Furman ranked 15 and 16 in the two major FCS polls. You see the series history there, a 2-0 Furman lead in a limited all-time series. The last time these two teams played was in 2022, and that was the game that Jace Wilson, who has since transferred, but he came off the bench to lead Furman to a comeback win when Tyler Huff got hurt. 24-19 was the final there. Previously, 2019 season opener It was a 46-13 Furman win here. On Saturday night, among all the other things that will be going on, the Paladins are going to be honoring Bryce Stanfield, who, of course, passed away back in February. His parents, Fred and Terry, are going to be here. It's going to be an ongoing thing, not just this year, but moving forward, because one of the things they're going to unveil in the area behind the Fieldhouse end zone is a memorial to Bryce Stanfield that's going to become a permanent part of the facility here at Paladin Stadium. And also, Bryce was so much into community work, community activity, and especially reading to grade school kids. They have a setup now called Bryce's Book Buddies, and if you're coming to the stadium, they're going to have places where you can actually donate children's books that will be distributed. So going to continue to honor Bryce Stanfield all season long. He will remain a part of this program forever, and we're excited to have Fred and Terry coming up here on Saturday. In fact, they were at Ole Miss for the opener in Oxford, and Clay talked a little bit about that at the end of his press conference on Monday. Taking a look at some of their numbers and players, it starts at quarterback with Rob McCoy, who transferred from Sacred Heart. And in 23 at Sacred Heart, he threw for 1,033 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Well, he's off to a really good start. Even in the loss, he was 20 for 25 for 290 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions, and rushed 12 times for 40 yards as well. They're going to be an offense that's going to run out of that spread option. So they're going to give you that rush look, kind of what Kennesaw State did a little bit a year ago. And the ability to throw the ball out of that makes them dangerous. So he is the guy pulling the trigger at the quarterback position. Their starting running back, Octavius Eisen, played in 9 games as a true freshman a year ago. And their leading receiver against the Citadel last week was their ex-receiver, Chris Roan, who had 5 catches for 90 yards. They put up 383 yards of total offense in that game, 290 through the air. Defensively, they allowed the Citadel 360 yards, and the Citadel was able to balance it out a bit, 190 rushing and 170 passing. The Bucs offensive line did give up 3 sacks. Citadel was able to get after quarterback Rob McCoy a little bit, so hopefully the Paladins will be able to turn that same trick. Furman did 2 things pretty well, all things considered, against Ole Miss. Number one, they were able to get pressure on Jackson Dart. They were officially credited with 2 sacks. The first play of the game should have been a sack because he was sacked short of the line of scrimmage, but SEC ball spotting perhaps. They moved it back to the line of scrimmage. That was not a sack. And then later, a sack by Evan DiMaggio was wiped out because of a face mask penalty, and it turned out he didn't have hold of the face mask either. So they were able to get some pressure. And then, for the most part, the offensive line protected Furman quarterbacks Carson Jones and Trey Hedden fairly well. They ended up getting sacked 4 times, but they weren't under that constant barrage of pressure that you thought sometimes you see when FCS teams go up against FBS teams. The trick this week, and this is going to be one of the stories to watch moving forward, A, you always want to protect the passer, but B, we find out this week, starting this week, if this offensive line is going to be able to produce in the running game. And talking with Justin Roper, there are a couple of different ways that they plan on moving the football, either from the power game or from a single back, more spread them out kind of set, whatever the defense gives them. But the offensive line is going to start to tell its story and build its resume this week against Charleston Southern and moving forward, because this team wants to run the football. Clay Hendricks said as much in the interview that you'll hear on the Pepsi Countdown to Kickoff coming up on Saturday. Identity, they want to run the football. They want to be able to do things off play action as well as the straight drop back. So we begin to find out this week if the offensive line is going to be able to do what it needs to do in the running game. The other thing that you look at defensively, and check out these numbers from 2023, the Paladins defense was first in every category in the SoCon except for red zone percentage defense, and they were second there. And then you see where they ranked nationally in the FCS in all of those categories. The takeaways the last 2 years have been the big thing for this defense. 56 takeaways in the last 27 games, 29 in 2022, which was tops in FCS, and then last year, 27, which was third at the FCS level. Can they approach those numbers again this year? A lot of it is going to be dependent upon the ability to rush the passer and give the young, talented, but inexperienced back end time to grow into the players the coaching staff believes that they can be this season. The good news is this front seven has some reliable veterans who've shown they can get after the quarterback. So let's watch that on Saturday night as well. Can they rush the passer? Particularly, can they do it with just the front four? And if so, that'll make it a lot easier, as you know, to play defense on the back end. So those are some of the things that we're watching as preparing for this football game this week, or I'm watching. What's this offensive line going to be able to produce in the running game? And then defensively, can they get after a mobile quarterback, Rob McCoy? How will they play the option portion of that offense? It's always an intriguing chess match from a week-to-week basis. The other games in the league this week as follows. Citadel will be at Johnson Haygood, their home opener for South Carolina State, Saturday at noon. Western Carolina hosting Campbell at 1 o'clock. 1:30 VMI home for Bucknell. Mercer goes on the road to Bethune-Cookman at 3 p.m. At 3:30, Wofford is at Richmond. 5:30 p.m., ETSU hosts D2 UVA Wise. You have Samford at Florida at 7 o'clock, and Chattanooga at Georgia State also at 7 p.m. Our game kicks off at 6 o'clock, and the broadcast available TV-wise via ESPN+. And, of course, the radio broadcast is kicking off with the Pepsi Countdown to Kickoff at 4:30 for the 6 o'clock start here at Paladin Stadium. And we also remind you that Booth Cam will be available on the Furman football Facebook page and my personal Facebook and X pages. So if you want to listen to the broadcast, watch the shenanigans in the booth. For some reason, that has become fairly popular over the last 3 or 4 years, and got some enhancements with it this year. If you saw the game at Ole Miss, you kind of saw graphically what we were able to do. Bottom line is, we want to have you here at the stadium. It's going to be a great atmosphere, but if you can't make it, we've got you covered broadcast-wise, both TV and radio. So again, 6 o'clock kick for the home opener, FU After Dark, the Trilogy, and tickets are still available. Expecting a big crowd, but there are some tickets available. FurmanPaladins.com. Dwight Covington would love to give you a great seat for the first of 6 home games for the Paladins here in 2024. Thank you for checking out this week's Furman football preview. We'll be back with another one next week. We'll talk to you Saturday night from right here at Paladin Stadium on the Ingalls Furman Radio Network. Until then, I'm Dan Scott. God bless you. So long, everybody.